Welcome to the War Party Podcast with me, your host, Chris Warren. Guys, it is so happy to be back here for episode 4. If you've been here since day 1, thank you for continuing to follow us. And if you're new here, welcome to the War Party. We're glad to have you. Guys, a lot of news this week to cover. But first, I'd like to address that this week is Valentine's Day. Now, this podcast comes out on Monday, and Valentine's Day isn't until Friday. But if you are listening to this around Valentine's Day, I want you to know that I love love, okay? I know Valentine's is a bullshit holiday made up by the Hallmark company to sell more cards. It's a whole story. I don't have time to get into it right now. But I do love Valentine's Day. And you know, if you're alone this Valentine's Day, that's okay. Because real talk, you should never judge your value based on someone else or any external values, for that matter. So just because you don't have a romantic partner, whether it's a guy, a girl, whatever you're into, that doesn't mean you're less than, okay? It doesn't matter. It's okay. You're going to be fine. Work on yourself, become a better person, and just keep living life. You'll find the right person, or God forbid if you don't, that's okay too. Maybe there's more to life than that. Now that is, of course, me coping because I'm alone. I'm alone this Valentine's Day, but that's okay. You know, I've had some good Valentine's Days with people in the past. Not to brag, I'm a pretty good boyfriend. I kind of go all out for it. It's a holiday I really like. But, you know, this year I can't do that because I don't have a special someone. And that's okay. So, guys, you're not alone. And we're going to get through this. We have Warhammer 40K and Uma Musume Pretty Derby. Okay, that's what I'm going to be doing on Valentine's Day. I'm going to be watching Uma Musume to hear about the power of friendship. For those that don't know, I'm not an anime guy, but I do really like this singular anime. I think most anime is kind of lame, I'll be honest with you. No offense, if you guys are into anime, I'm never here to yuck someone's yum, okay? Whatever media content you want to consume, that's your business. If you enjoy it, enjoy it. I think one of the lamest things you can do is put someone down for being excited about something or being into something, you know. That's like fun and not hurting anybody. Like, enjoy your anime, whatever it is. It's not for me, but Uma Musume Pretty Derby is. If you follow me on Instagram, I put little Easter eggs of it all over my content. I love that show. It's a show about horse racing, like trackside horse racing, except for the horses are anime girls that run through the power of friendship. And I know that sounds really gay, because it kind of is, but I love it. You know what it is? I spend all day reading headlines and doing deep research about wars and geopolitics and all these conflicts all over the world. I watch a lot of combat footage. I track a lot of military movements through a bunch of websites. And at the end of that, my brain's a little like, the world's, it's a lot going on. And, you know, it gets a little stressful. So I like to unwind. I just watch Uma Musume Pretty Derby. And it's just a sweet little show about horse girls being friends and being nice to each other and trying their best. And I think that's wholesome. And a lot of you creeps out there, by the way, because I've noticed this in the community, a lot of you creeps try to sexualize the Uma Musume, and that's fucked up. We don't tolerate that on this channel, okay? Uma Musume are pure, okay? They're sportsmen. Treat them with the respect you would treat an athlete. Okay, I love Uma Musume, and I really don't like when people objectify them. I know that sounds like a bit, but I'm so serious. It genuinely upsets me when people try to objectify them, because it's like, you want to watch a creepy, gross anime? Have at it. Go enjoy that. I'm not going to judge you. That's your business, right? But don't bring that creep energy into a wholesome show about friendship and sportsmanship. That's not what it's about, okay? It's the one wholesome thing I have in my life. Stop trying to ruin it for me. So that's my rant on that. Actually, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch Uma Musume Pretty Derby on this Valentine's Day, because I'm going to be going to the Shell in New Hampshire to do a stand-up show. For those that don't know, I'm a stand-up comedian. I found out recently a lot of you don't know I'm a stand-up comedian, which is very upsetting, because the only reason I started making social media content was to get people to know who I was so you would come out to shows. And a lot of you have come out to shows, and thank you so much for that. It's been great to meet some of you guys, and thank you for supporting, and it was a lot of fun. But for those that don't know, I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm going to be going with my other stand-up comedian friend, Robbie Bernstein, sometimes known as Robbie the Fire Bernstein. Hilarious comic, all-around great guy, good friend of mine. So much fun performing with him. He's one of my favorites to work with. And we're going to be at the Shell on Friday for Valentine's Day in New Hampshire. Tickets on his website, which I should have prepared the name of. I don't have it written down, but if you go to him on Instagram, Robbie the Fire Bernstein, there'll be a link there. You can go buy tickets if you live in the area, want to come out for Valentine's Day. Come out and see us. It'll be a fun show. And, yeah, I have to be better about saying that I'm a stand-up comedian and plugging my shows. I'm so bad about plugging my shows. So I'll plug that one for this week, and next week I'll plug another one, and I'll get better at it as time goes on. So, yeah, come hang. And it is a libertarian clubhouse. I'm not personally a libertarian. No, again, no hate to libertarians. They've been very kind to me, been very supportive of my stand-up career. I've done, a lot of them have come out the shows, so I'm a big fan. You guys always bring me fun presents, the libertarians, because they live off the grid, and they'll bring me, like, sourdough bread that their wife made or, like, raw honey that they grow in their backyard. And they'll usually show me firearms. And I love firearms. I'm not really allowed to own them right now. So it is fun to get to see them. So you guys keep coming out the shows. I got nothing against the libertarians. What I will say is, because a lot of people ask why I'm not libertarian, because I am, I guess, weirdly popular in that community, which, hey, thank you. Continue to support me. Continue. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. A fan is a fan is a fan. I will never reject anyone being a fan of my content. All right. My problem with libertarianism, and the reason I'm not, is in principle, libertarianism sounds good on paper, but it's kind of like the right's version of communism. So if you go super far left, you become libertarian. If you go super far right, you become libertarian. If you go super far left, you become communist. In theory, there's other places you could go with it. We all know that, but those are kind of like two ends of the spectrum. And the reason neither of them, I don't think, would work if they were truly implemented is because of human nature. Because yes, it's great in an idealized society where everyone shares this value of whatever political ideology you're trying to follow in the greater good, whether that's, a free-run libertarian society or a communist society. On paper, it's great. It's utopian. But the issue is you don't factor in human nature, because everyone has to be bought into the system and do the right thing, for lack of a better word, and operate within the bounds of those systems. And if you have even a couple people that don't want to do that, they can really take advantage of the system and start shifting it. And that's what we saw with communism. Whenever communists scream about how that wasn't real communism, I hate communism, by the way. I want to be clear about that. But I'll throw them a bone. Yeah, no, it wasn't real communism, because real communism can't exist. Because you inevitably get someone like Stalin or Mao who's going to rise to the top and decide that, yeah, everyone's equal, but some are more equal than others. Have you read Animal Farm in middle school? There's a reason we read that book, because that's inevitably where that ends up. And I think a similar thing would happen with libertarianism, is if you truly implemented it and there was like basically no government, or very teeny tiny, small, insignificant government, all it takes is like one bad actor to become like a fucking warlord. Whoever has the most, he's just a warlord of the wastelands like Mad Max. Or you go the other way and it becomes corporate libertarianism, where you have like Amazon owns all the water in your town, and Walmart owns all the roads, and there's tolls everywhere because everything's privately owned, and that can get dystopian real quick too. So again, nothing against libertarians. I actually love them. They're great great audience to perform for. But that is why I am personally not a libertarian, because a couple of you have DM'd me asking that. And so I just wanted to answer your question there. But back to the fact that Valentine's Day is coming up, or is here, or has passed, depending when you're listening to this. Most of my heroes were romantics themselves, right? Kissinger, big hero of mine, as you all know. And for all his faults, things you might not like about him, he was a great husband. He had like a 6-foot-tall wife, and he was a little 5'8" guy, and they loved each other so much. So much. They were never apart from each other. He brought her everywhere with him, to China, to Vietnam, everywhere, to Washington, everywhere he went. His wife was not more than like 100 feet from him. They were madly in love and stayed married till the day he died. And that's the kind of love I want, okay? I want to have a Amazonian wife like Kissinger did, and be madly in love with each other, and rule the American empire. That's my dream if I could be Kissinger. That would be great. I have some great ideas for the American empire, as you can tell by the way I talk about it. And same with Dick Cheney. He loved his wife. They were together for forever. No cheating, no sex scandals, nothing like that, because they were truly in love. And I think that's what you need. If you want to rule the American empire and conquer the world and defeat communism and run the biggest economy the world has ever seen and the biggest cultural hegemony the world has ever seen and keep the petrodollar on top, you got to have someone, a good partner by your side who you love and who loves you and where there's mutual respect. That's where the real power comes from. Don't listen to all these people who are telling you love's a scam or love's bad or it makes you weak or, you know, all women or whores or all men are dogs. Because it's like, yeah, sure, some women and men are like that, but there's also a lot of good women and men. I know many of them. Pretty much all the people I interact with on a regular basis who are my friends because I get to choose who my friends are. That's the fun part of adulthood. They're all good people, men and women. They're good, upstanding people who, you know, you can find them out there. If you're all depressed about love today, you can find a good person out there. Don't listen to the online men versus women discourse going on out there. It's all bullshit by hurt people who are projecting their experience. Just because one person of the opposite sex hurt you, and maybe they legitimately did. They cheated on you or lied to you, manipulated you, tore your heart out, you were heartbroken, it was a real traumatic experience. Don't let that be something that prevents you from something positive in the future, like real, authentic love. Because it's out there for you. Go find it. I want that for each and every one of you, to find whatever partner you're looking for, right? To go find them and have a nice life. And, you know, whatever works for you, whatever kind of relationship. I don't think there's like a fixed thing on that, but I want you to go out there and be happy, because everyone deserves that, all right? You know, and again, if you're single, I'm single too. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll play some Warhammer 40K on Valentine's Day. We'll have a fun time. I'll bust out the Iron Warriors. I am building an Iron Warriors army. Little announcement for those that care. And it'll be okay. It's just a holiday. It doesn't mean anything. Let it pass over you. Since I did speak a little bit about my heroes like Kissinger and Cheney, I would like to talk about another hero of mine who doesn't get the attention he deserves. And his name is Khalid al-Assad. And Khalid al-Assad was the leading archaeologist in Syria back in the day. And back in 2015, when ISIS was taking over whole regions of the country, for those that don't remember, during the Syrian civil war, ISIS popped up and they were taking over a lot of territory. It was a whole thing everyone was freaked out about. And Khalid ran one of the biggest archaeology museums in the country with all the country's like most treasured artifacts of the past, like a lot of real cool stuff from the Bronze Age. And I'm a history nerd. For those that don't know, my original plan before comedy or becoming like a stock guy was to be a college professor. I was an alcoholic and I wanted to become a college professor so I could be drunk all the time and talk about history and everyone would just think I'm eccentric and excuse my drug addiction. That was my plan. Didn't happen. Turns out if you drink your whole way through undergrad, you're not going to get into a lot of great grad programs. You're going to have to go into tech sales and then inevitably become a stand-up comedian when you get sober. It's just how life works. But he's a hero of mine because when ISIS was taking over the region he was in charge of evacuating all the precious Syrian artifacts. And so he had his team take them and go hide them places far away to get them out of, so ISIS couldn't get them. Because at the time, ISIS was destroying all these old artifacts because they were from ancient civilizations that weren't Islamic, and so they were heresy and had to be destroyed. And he managed to hide almost all the artifacts, and he stayed behind. He told his team to get out of here with the artifacts, go. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be the last man out because I'm in charge. I'm going to run the operation to the last minute. And ISIS caught him back in 2015. ISIS caught him, and they tortured him for days, trying to get him to give up the location of where the artifacts were going, where they were hidden, because they wanted to destroy them. And this man, he wasn't a politician, he wasn't a soldier or anything like that. He was a civilian archaeologist historian. And he endured torture for, like, horrible ISIS torture, by the way. If you've ever seen an ISIS video, you know what those guys are capable of. He endured that for days, did not give up the location of a single artifact or any of his team members. and he died from torture. They tortured him to death. And that he's the reason that we still have so many of those artifacts from Syria. They were able to be safely transported to other places or out of the country. And we still have those pieces of human history, all of our history as humans. We still have those amazing pieces from the Bronze Age and ancient times because Khalid stood up to ISIS and got tortured to death. And he never gets talked about. And I just wanted to give him some flowers today because I'm a big fan of his. And so Khalid al-Assad, thank you for holding it down and saving human history. Because as a history fan, that means a lot to me. And you deserve to be more widely known. So thank you, Khalid. And now this comes to the part of the podcast where I've been seeing this in some of my more wholesome content. People are like, wait, is the war stocks guy not evil? Yeah, I'm not an evil psycho. Guys, we might disagree on geopolitics. We might disagree on the efficacy of investing in war and profiteering off war. But here's the thing. If you're investing in the stock market as an average person, there's really no ethical way to make money. Not to sound like a communist, right? Because I still do it, right? I am investing in war specifically. That's the majority of my portfolio. That's why I give, joke stock tips. They're all jokes, obviously. But it's like no one gets out clean. Because, okay, if you have like a 401k or a Roth IRA or any sort of savings account, it is most likely majority placed in some sort of index fund paired up to the S&P 500, which for those that don't know are like the 500 highest performing, biggest companies available on the stock market. And first of all, there's a lot of war stocks in that 500, so you might not know it. You might already be investing in Lockheed and Raytheon and Halliburton without being aware of it because they come in and out of the S&P 500 all the time. And also, like, all those other companies, like Apple, not to pick on them, but, like, they use literal slave labor in China. And they specifically go to China because they don't have to pay their employees. Remember that story years ago? The Apple factories had nets around the buildings and bars on the windows because people kept jumping out to end their life. Like, yeah, I think those guys were basically slaves. That's not normal work behavior. Those aren't people that got to choose to leave the office or quit their job. So, yeah, if you have any stock in Apple or own an iPhone, you're just as bad as me, bud. And not to mention that they made them in China where there's no EPA, no environmental protection, so they're polluting the shit out of the water and the sky. They're using plastic that is not going to biodegrade. It's going to sit in a landfill forever. You're like, no, my iPhone's metal and glass. Not on the inside, buddy. The inside is a bunch of plastic components. The inside also has a lot of rare earth minerals, which are in all electronics. So not just Apple, Samsung, Sony, all these other electronics. And those rare earth minerals, for the most part, are farmed from conflict areas like the Democratic Republic of Congo, where you have, again, basically slaves. These guys aren't technically slaves, but they're basically slaves. They're children that are forced to work because it's the only job in their area. And if they don't work for 20, 50 cents a day, their family will starve. So they're forced to go work 12-hour, 14-hour days in the mines with no safety precautions. A lot of them are barefoot. Tunnels collapse all the time, killing people. People get arms torn off, fingers torn off. And they work in these horrible conditions for basically no wages. And so we can argue, does that make them slaves? Technically not. It's like, they're basically slaves. Like, what's their other option? So before you get on me for like, oh, war investment's bad, at least I'm honest about what I'm fucking doing. A lot of you aren't on. If you own an iPhone, you have no business telling me that I'm morally wrong. By the way, I use a Samsung, which is ethically made in Korea, where people have labor standards and a fair livable wage. Not a great wage, but a fair livable wage. They're not slaves. They're not jumping out of the factory like at the Apple factory. So I actually might be a little bit moral than you. That's me being petty. I just wanted to address that because it's been something that's been annoying me in my comments recently. Just saying. It's also the Winter Olympics right now. The Winter Olympics started earlier this week, and so far, America has only won one medal, and it's by Breezy Johnson for downhill skiing, women's downhill skiing. And shouts out to Breezy. You have the first medal, not just the first medal of America in the Winter Olympics so far. It was a gold medal. You crushed your event. You dominated these other countries. And I want to thank you for being an American hero for that. And for all those that have issues with America. You know, if you're an American, I get it. A lot going on in America. We have our problems, all right? We can be upset about certain things our country is or isn't doing. But during the Olympics, this is when we fucking close ranks, okay? For the next 2 weeks that the Olympics is going on, I don't want to hear anything negative about America. We can have our fight internally, right? Like family. The outside world doesn't get to see that shit. You're going to let the Europeans see us squabbling? Fuck that. Fuck them. Fuck everyone that's not us during the Olympics. We're going to get not just the most medals, we're going to get the most gold medals. And I know it's like, oh, well, Norway's beating us. They have the most medals with 6. Yeah, that's because we're doing stupid shit. Like, what's the one where you, like, cross-country ski and then shoot a gun? Like, they invented that sport to win because they couldn't win real sports, okay? That's why the Norwegians are ahead of us. You just wait for the American men's Olympic hockey team to take the ice. Okay, remember Miracle on Ice where we defeated the Soviet Union in hockey? We're about to do that to everybody. That's probably be the only winter event I watch is you got to watch the American men's national hockey team at the Olympics. They're going to crush it. We crush it every year. Going to be awesome. Going to be one of the most patriotic things you've ever seen. And you also got to check out bobsledding because I don't know about you. I grew up watching Cool Runnings. I don't know why every time there was like a day where we didn't do any work at my middle school, there's like teacher conference or whatever it was. You'd all just sit in like the orchestra room and you'd watch Cool Runnings on one of those little TVs on wheels about the Jamaican bobsled team. And it is really an inspiring, great story. Not so accurate to the real story because I looked into that. I covered that in an old video. But yeah, it's still awesome. So you got to watch to see the Jamaican bobsled team just for nostalgia, if nothing else. That's a great part of the Olympics. And in other sports news, it's also the Super Bowl tonight. I'm recording this on Sunday. Right? So the Super Bowl's already happened. I don't know whether it was the Seahawks or the Patriots that won. You can tell me in the comments because you know now. You're in the future. I personally am a Texans fan, as some of you know, which means I don't ever have to worry about the Super Bowl. This year I thought we might make it. We got farther than I expected, but, we didn't make it. To be fair, I'm a very light fan of the Texans. I picked them arbitrarily in college because I grew up in a household where, I know this might come as a shocker, sports was not a big thing. That's why I turned out the way I did. And when I went to college at Syracuse University, everyone on my floor, all the guys would get together and play Madden. And they would ask me about like what my favorite sports teams were, and I didn't have any. And they thought that was crazy. Chris, you got to pick a sports team, bro. At least football. That's like the most American sport. You got to pick a football team. And we play Madden all the time. And I would lose because I'm okay at video games, but I don't understand how football works. So I'd pick Hail Mary every time because I'm like, oh, it's got the most yardage. Obviously, that's the move. Let's play that one, and I'd lose. And I'd always pick random, like the random choice to get a random team, and I would lose with everyone. And the first game, at like my 20th game, I randomed the Texans, and I won a game, my first ever Madden game. And so then I was like, obviously the Texans are the best team. They're because I was able to win with them, so that's my team. They're like, that's not how we told you to pick a football team. That's not how you're supposed to pick a football team. And I said, you said pick a team. I picked the Texans, and I've been informed by my uncle that you're not allowed to switch teams. You're stuck with it for life. So for the rest of my life, I'll be a Texans fan. I watch maybe one game a season, if that. And if we ever make it to the Super Bowl, I'll get to wear my Andre Johnson's vintage, at this point, it's vintage jersey that's in my closet. And I'll be like, I've been a Texans fan for 70 years, and we finally won a game. And that'll be great when we win the Super Bowl in the future. So I'm looking forward to that. But enjoy your Super Bowl, everybody. It's an American pastime. A Super Bowl is another one where, I don't care what our issues are. We're all American on Super Bowl day. Super Bowl Sunday. I'm sorry, I've been getting caught in a lot of diatribes so far in this episode, so I apologize. Let's get to the real news. India. Say what you want about India. I know there's been a lot of opinions about India online that I won't comment on. But India is a nimble navigator. A lot of people don't know this. India is one of the countries that very, very smartly navigates geopolitics. So they basically their only goal is to destroy Pakistan, and Pakistan's only goal is to destroy India. But India plays the game well. They're constantly playing America and China off each other. So America's trying to get a new trade deal with them and work on tariffs and all those things. And it's like we used to be best friends with them in terms of trade, and then they went to China, and then back to us, and then they're back with China right now. And now they're seeing if they can get a better deal out of the Americans to be our best friends again, and inevitably in like a year or two they'll go back and do something behind our back with China. And it's like, hey, it's annoying because I'm pro-American empire. But, like, I gotta give respect where respect is due. Like, the Indians are playing everyone like a fiddle. So, shouts out to, I think his name's Modi is their leader right now. Yeah, I think Modi's still their leader. He's doing some 5D chess over there. And then, like, during a while ago when they couldn't get, like, good oil deals with us, they're like, fuck it, we'll buy from Russia. And they're like, no, hey, yo, we sanctioned Russia for the Ukraine situation. You're not allowed. The whole world agreed you're not allowed to buy natural gas and oil from Russia. And they said, I don't give a fuck. They got the cheapest oil. Give me a better deal. And they bought Russian oil for like a year and then got us to give them a better deal on gas and oil. So they're surprisingly secretly kind of one of the most nimble navigators of politics, India, as a country. They do not play games. They are out for themselves, which I think, every country realistically should be. And, respect. I'm annoyed with them that they keep fucking us in these deals, but at the same time, like, we're kind of allowing them to do it. They're running circles around us, and I gotta don't hate the player, hate the game type situation. So India, just wanted to put some respect on your name, because I know a lot of people have been talking shit about you, and hey, that may or may not be justified depending on what they're saying. But in the case of politics, you guys secretly kind of crushing it, and I want to give you your flowers there for a minute, although you should stop working with the Chinese. Cut it out with working with the Chinese and the Russians. Come back to America. We can work something. Babe, we can work something out, India. Come on. Give me a chance. A lot of people also from last week's episode got very mad at me for saying that Bitcoin was a government psyop ran by the CIA and possibly other intelligence agencies or other intelligence agencies altogether. And they're like, no, it's not, dude. The Bitcoin, if you understand how blockchain works, Bitcoins. And listen, I'm not saying you can't buy Bitcoin. I don't personally anymore buy Bitcoin, but that's because that's not the market I'm interested in. I don't understand the fluctuations of cryptocurrency markets. They're a little too volatile for me. So I stick to what I know. I stick to military industrial investment and a couple other industrial investments that I understand, right? Because the stock market and investing and everything to do with capital is so big. You got, like, for me at least, I got to be a specialist. I only talk about what I know. I only invest in what I know because I am not a millionaire. I don't want to lose my money. I want to make more money. I'd like to be a millionaire, and if I keep investing in the things I understand, maybe one day I can be. But a lot of people got mad about that statement about Bitcoin. And here's the thing. Oh, you don't understand how the blockchain works. It's untraceable, and the government could never do all those mathematics and computer stuff to make the blockchain. They could never come out with that. Dude, America has a heart attack gun. We have a sound weapon we used in Venezuela, which I talked about episode 1. We have a space laser, by the way. We'll get into that in another episode, but we have a space laser. Like a legit, like, Gears of War. What was it called? The Hammer of Dawn you'd call in? We have that in real life, a satellite space laser. And we've had most of these things since like the 80s or 90s and all sorts of other projects I don't have time to talk about and so many things we don't even know about. These are just the things we know about. Imagine the shit the government hasn't used yet that they're really keeping a secret. And you think that they can't track Bitcoin and that they could never come up with making Bitcoin. You really think that that's too much for them, that they're incapable of that? Bro, what delusional world are we living in? Say what you want about the U.S. government. There's a lot of problems with it, but the Pentagon, like the CIA, FBI, all those other three-letter agencies that you don't even know about because there's like 50 of them, and most people only know those two, you're telling me with the billions and billions and billions of dollars that they have and the slush funds through the black market that they run, so they have shadow money and all the assets around the world they have, you're telling me they can't track Bitcoin and they can't come up with the idea of Bitcoin and there's no way that could be a government psyop? There's no way that could be a government-controlled thing? Okay. All right. Sure. No, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. And Oswald was a lone shooter of JFK. right? That too. Okay. And in other internet news, I've been seeing a lot of this new trend. It's not new now. It's been going on for a while now, but it's gotten really popular in the last month of this trend of like being Chinese. Like all these people online are like, spiritually, I'm very Chinese, and it'll be a video of like a white dude drinking a Chinese beer and like squatting and like smoking Chinese cigarettes. Or they'll do what's it called? Like where the Chinese men like lift up their shirt over their belly when it gets hot. So then you'll see like white dudes out there doing that. Now the chicks are getting into it. They're all talking about how they're Chinese and like how hot pot, that's the best kind of like restaurants around and shit. And like, let's have your fun. Enjoy stuff. But like, how are you falling for this? This is clearly a Chinese psyop. Clearly a Chinese psyop. The Chinese are trying to, it starts as a joke, as most psyops do. They trick you into thinking it's not that serious, right, to lure you in. Starts as a joke of like, oh, I'm Chinese. Look at all this cool Chinese stuff. It's actually pretty sick. And over time, you're like, oh, actually, like, the Chinese government's pretty cool. Look at all this stuff. Yeah, no, that's cool. And then when China does bad stuff on the global stage, they have these American supporters because years ago you fell for like the TikTok trend meme of being spiritually Chinese. Like, I don't. Also, kudos to whoever the PSYOP guy is for China that came up with this. Great idea. Genius idea. The American youth definitely fell for this hook, line, and sinker. You got them. Like, this is the Chinese equivalent of when the CIA and FBI made gangster rap a thing. So, you're falling for it again, guys. Come on. Like, listen, they're funny. Some of them are funny, but, like, don't fall for it. China still sucks. And not the people. Actually, most Chinese people I've met have been awesome. Like, I'm talking, like, from China. Have been, like, they've been chillers. Respect. But like the Chinese government, the People's Communist Party of China, is fucking evil. They're an authoritarian regime. If you argue against them or say anything bad about them publicly, best case scenario, they lower your social credit score so you can't take public transit or you can't do banking because they debank you. Worst case scenario, you go missing and they harvest your organs for the black market. And that's not a conspiracy. That's all but been proven. That the Chinese government has been caught, or Chinese subsidiaries have been caught harvesting organs over there from prisoners in China. So don't confuse like Chinese culture being cool with the government of China being cool. Because I know you think it's all fun and games. That's where they're shifting you towards. That's how a PSYOP works. It starts with like, listen to all this cool Chinese music and all this cool Chinese food and this Chinese fashion. Like, ooh, Chinese cigarettes are cool, and they are. I actually love Chinese cigarettes. Sometimes I buy them from a guy that imports them. That's obviously a joke because that would be illegal. But don't let that then lead you down the slippery slope of like, maybe the Chinese government isn't that bad. Maybe they're actually pretty chill. They're not. I'm telling you right now, any imperialist action that you have issue with America doing, China does it 10 times worse. And I'm just, please, guys, resist the Chinese. Resist them. America's the best, okay? I just need you to know America's the best. In other news, the Saudis are flexing their muscle in the Middle East. We kind of touched on it last week, but they're having like a proxy shadow war with the UAE, specifically over Yemen, because the Saudis fund the official Yemenis government, and the UAE funds a couple of the guerrilla groups fighting the Saudi-backed government, and Yemen's been in like a civil war forever. It's the classic thing of like the government propped up by a regional power is fighting off like, you know, 2 extremist groups and 3 like rebel groups, but all those rebel and extremist groups are also kind of fighting each other because they all have different ideas for what Yemen's going to look like after the war. It's a classic clusterfuck. But the Saudi and the UAE are having like a shadow war over this, and the Saudis are clearly winning, by the way. They're definitely winning. They're going to intervene more in Yemen. I'm calling it right now. I mean, they've already bombed half the place. You don't hear about it in the news. Because it's just not that relevant to American audiences. It doesn't capture our attention. So the news is out there. You don't see it in the mainstream over here. But yeah, the Saudis will continue to take more power and more influence in Yemen. and try to make it one of its proxies, one of its bases of power to control shipping around that area. By the way, that's why Yemen's so important. Yemen, in theory, should not be important. It doesn't really have much natural resources. It's not hugely populous. They don't have a large economy. They don't produce anything that's globally super relevant. The reason Yemen's important is because if you look at it on a map, it's right there where all the shipping lanes go towards the Suez Canal. And so if you can control that, you can control a lot of whether shipping comes in and out of that area, and that makes you very powerful, and that's why the Saudis want it. That's also why the Emiratis, the UAE, don't want them to have it. And that's where that conflict comes from, is the UAE is trying to neuter Saudi Arabia's growing power, and the Saudis aren't having it, and quite frankly, they're winning right now. The Saudis also announced a huge multi-billion-dollar investment deal in Syria to help rebuild Syria. And it's clearly them trying to secure Syria as like a pseudo-proxy state for them in the future. If they can be the first ones there, dumping the most money into it, they can get like pro-Saudi politicians in power. They can get Syria's new rebuilt economy kind of linked or intangibly attached to the Saudi economy and Saudi imports and things like that. And so that's what's going on there. And also, if you look at where Syria is, it's great to have as like a buffer against Iran, which is the Saudis' big enemy that they hate. That's often what unites America and Saudi Arabia, is their mutual hate of Iran. And with that in mind, guys, it's time to talk some stock tips. And again, I'm not a licensed fiduciary. I have no licenses of any kind. This is not financial advice. You should not listen to anything I say because I'm a stand-up comedian. This is all comedy. This next bit is all comedy. With that being said, here's who's going to rebuild Syria with the billions of dollars that the Saudis are pumping in there, because there are some companies, some of the bigger ones are Saudi government held, which a lot of big Saudi companies are government held, so you can't buy stock in them. They're not publicly traded, which is a bummer because those are really the big winners, because of course the Saudi government's going to spend billions of dollars. They're going to pay their own companies. But there are some companies that, in theory, again, I wouldn't recommend you do this. I'm not saying you should do this. Again, I'm a comedian. This is a comedy show. But in theory, what you could do as a bit is invest in these following companies, such as STC Group, which is going to rebuild a lot of the power lines, telecommunication, and fiber optics in Syria, basically getting all their communications infrastructure back up and running. And that's publicly traded. They've already been tapped to be one of the big winners of this deal to rebuild all the telecommunications. There's no competitor that got any sort of like in tandem deal. It's all going to STC. And so that's it could go up in the next 10 years as they rebuild Syria with those billions of dollars, just saying. Another one is Flyness, which is a joint company with Syrian and Saudi investors that looks to make a Syrian-based airline. Because, Syria doesn't really have that right now. I mean, they don't really have much of anything right now. They've been at war for the last decade plus. And I think with this, the Saudis aren't going to let this airline fail. They want it to succeed, and so they'll dump a ton of money into Flyness. And I think you'll see Flyness grow. It's a newer company that they just kind of acquired some other assets from other companies and are basically building up from the ground up. But their stock's publicly traded. I think it'll probably stay low for a little bit, right? Because they're not quite up and running. It'll take a couple of years to get up and running. But if someone hypothetically were to buy now on the ground floor and hold for like a decade or two, I think that stock's going to, multiple times over double in value. Because the Saudis are determined to make it work. It's kind of part of their agenda for having regional power over there. And so I think they'll just keep pumping money into it until it starts turning a profit and is successful. So I think Flyness is another good one that you could see a lot of profit in, but it would be a long-term hold. This isn't like I'm going to buy it and a couple months, a year or two, I'm going to flip it. It's like you're going to have to, this is a long-term investment. This is like for retirement. You're going to want to hold this for like a decade plus. Just, fair warning on that. Another one is ACWA Power, which is going to be providing most of the energy for Syria. Most of the energy demands and electricity demands in Syria as it gets rebuilt. They haven't officially been announced as winning the contract as far as I know, but they're pretty much the only competitor that would have a chance of winning it. Like, they pretty much are going to win it. It's going to be awarded to them. I'm calling it right now. And that would be to kind of rebuild all the power substations, everything electrical in Syria. And so obviously their stock price has not been affected because they haven't been tapped to do it yet. But I think the second they are tapped, it's going to go up because, again, billions and billions of dollars the Saudi are pouring into the region to make all these projects successful, because it's crucial that they have power in Syria for their wider goals of kind of further controlling the Middle East, especially as America has consistently pulled power back a little bit from the Middle East. The Saudis are looking to fill that void, because they want to be more powerful, but if nothing else, because they don't want Iran or one of the other kind of oil nations like the UAE or Qatar to swoop in and take that power in their place, right? Because if they don't do it, someone will, so they want to be the ones to do it. So I do think they'll continue to invest a lot of money in these projects, and I think that, again, most of these are long-term holds, but I do see over the next decade a lot of these stocks being stupid high. So don't look back, with regret. Maybe look into them and see if that makes sense for you. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just some stuff I noticed, but I'm a comedian. This is all a comedy sketch. So again, comedy. Don't worry about it. Guys, that's going to bring us to the end of our episode. Episode 4, a little shorter today. I'm trying to mess with the format, see if it works better at this length. I thought an hour was maybe too long for some people. If you want them longer, I have more stuff I can cover. So let me know if you like this shorter format or if you want to go back to the longer format. I am all ears. I want this to be something you guys enjoy. So as always, any comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to leave it in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram at Chris Warren Comedy. Please follow me over there. And yeah, guys, thank you for another wonderful episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for continuing to support the podcast. Until next week, remember, wherever there's a war, there's also profit.